Welcome back. It's the 0 to 100 podcast. I'm your host, William Walker Jr. So, this episode is actually going to be broken up. Like I've said before, there's going to always be the YouTube version as well as the audio versions where you listen to the podcast. And so, this one's going to be coming out in parts. This first part is me reviewing the various entertainment shows and movies that I've recently watched and seen and wanted to share my thoughts and grades on that. And then the other episode that I teased, which would be coming out later after I record it, is some friends that I've made on various social media platforms discussing how it is that we've gone about making friends in this digital age, and especially as adults. Like when you're kids, it's a lot easier to make friends because you just pretty much make friends with the people that you go to school with. Uh, it's a lot different when you become an adult and you have various different forms of meeting people and becoming friends. So I've had this one in the works for a while. Some very cool people that I've befriended on some different platforms. And so I'm just going to have them on. We're going to have a good conversation. But up first, the reviews are in. And so I've been going through before showing you guys what I'm watching, and I've talked about some of these shows before. So we're going to get started with Daredevil Born Again season 2, which it's actually had its finale a couple of weeks ago. And so I want to go ahead and get into what I felt about the season overall, as well as how they wrapped up this second season of Daredevil Born Again. We already know that season 3 is going to be coming. They've already started filming it. So, spoiler alert for those who might not have watched it, because I know there's some people that will go and wait till the season is completed and then they'll binge it. But I feel like it's been enough time. I'm going to get into it. So, first off, what letter grade do I actually give Daredevil Born Again season 2? Did I like it more than the first season? Um, I feel like I would definitely give it an A. It got an A. I feel like season 1 was really good, but I do think I enjoyed season 2 more. And so I'll get into the details of it. I thought the action in it, or the final episode was pretty good. Um, the scene where the people dressed up as Daredevil were surging the courthouse to take on Kingpin was absolutely insane, especially for this show. Like they really fully embraced the TVMA. It was like if you remember how the first season ended, where there was a really graphic scene where Kingpin literally crushed the guy's head. They had some stuff in this episode that was even more insane. I won't go into the details of what it was, but if you've seen it, you already know. But the only thing that I will say in complaints about the way that the season ended, and again, spoilers, you know, it ended with Matt Murdock revealing himself to be Daredevil, because that was part of the way for them to expose Kingpin's crimes, because it was established that um, Daredevil was a witness and Matt Murdock was a hero, and so that would expose Kingpin's crimes, and so therefore it was he was able to get Kingpin to get the governor to shut the port down, and you know Daredevil ends up going to jail at the end of the season, and Kingpin was given a deal by the Attorney General to simply go into exile and to leave New York. And because he left New York, then he wouldn't have to go to prison. And I would, I would say it made sense in terms of okay, fine, he took this deal and he's going to not have to go to jail, but he has to leave office and all this stuff, except for he goes on this rampage that I like just mentioned about in terms of the graphicness, and he killed had to be at least 15 between 15 and 20 people. So in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking like this dude just killed and murdered 15 to 20 people, and now he gets to go away, and Daredevil goes to jail. Like it just that part of it didn't make any sense. Um, but I guess in terms like when I was talking to my brother about it, I was like, I guess in terms of real life, there's bad people that get away with stuff all the time. I mean, you have a convicted felon that's currently the president of the United States, and even if he were to ever get impeached or get kicked out of office, he's probably not ever going to go to jail. So I guess from that standpoint, it makes sense. But that was like the only main thing that I kind of had issue with the finale of Daredevil Born Again. But overall, I thought it was highly entertaining. The only other problem, the I will say, yeah, the only other problem that I had with it is I will say it brings into question a great deal of like what Spider-Man is actually doing. And I know there's this weird you know legal thing that Marvel has with Sony, and where they loan or lease Spider-Man out to the Marvel Cinematic Universe so he can be used in the movies, and they like partner together to do the movies, but they can't like coexist in or they can't cross over in TV shows. And I know like that's just a little frustrating to me, but it also just makes you go, this doesn't make any sense that something this major would be taking place and Spider-Man's not involved. And that brings me to the next show that I wanted to, or I guess you could well, yeah, you could technically call it a show, but it was to me was more like a movie. And so after Daredevil Born Again, after Daredevil Born Again came out, like the very next week was the long anticipated Punisher special presentation. Marvel's special presentation was called Punisher: The Last Kill. This was a story that was cooked up by John Bernthal, who plays the Punisher. It was really, really good. The Punisher has not been one of my favorite characters, but John Bernthal really kills it. And I was highly entertained. It's actually not even that long. It's like just under an hour, about I want to say 48 minutes or so is the length of it. And it's like a little short film, but it was really, really well done. The action in it is top notch, especially like if you ever seen The Raid, it had very much Raid vibes. It had very much John Wick vibes. Uh, like it never made sense to me. Like for years, the Punisher before John Bernthal's portrayal, there was a movie that came out way back in the '90s with Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher, and it was not good. Like it was it was like actually, I mean, I kind of remember liking it as a kid, but he didn't even have a Punisher skull logo, which just made no sense. Like he's the easiest character to translate the film because all he does is shoot people. So it should be simple. It should be easy. It should be like not complicated to make this good. But it really wasn't. And then there was the Thomas Jane movie where John Travolta was the main villain in that, and that one was it wasn't terrible. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't like anything that was like spectacular or anything. Like it didn't all of a sudden create like this mass desire for the Punisher. Like again, it was just okay, but it was confusing as to how it was just okay because again, he just shoots people. It shouldn't be that difficult to translate. And then there was a sequel to that where gosh, and I'm blanking on who the actor was because he just passed away actually not that long ago. In fact, it shouldn't take me that long to Ray Stevenson was the actor that had passed away a couple years ago that played the Punisher in the sequel called Punisher Warzone, and I never actually saw it, so I couldn't tell you to the quality of it. I remember it bombed at the box office and it didn't get really good reviews. And Dominic West played Jigsaw, who definitely looked more Jigsaw than the Jigsaw from the Netflix Punisher show. But I remember it wasn't very well received. But I did think that this Punisher special presentation was really good. Again, but however, with what takes place in it, it just left me with a lot of questions of where the heck is Spider-Man. I'm going to do another. I'm going to fly through this one really quick because I did finish Invincible season 4. Season 5 is definitely on the way. I thought season 4 was actually better than season 3. I've described before how I've said I have like a love hate with Invincible because the worst part of the show is the main character Mark uh, Grayson, who plays Invincible or who is Invincible. He was much less annoying this season, but again, he's still like my least favorite character. But overall, the story itself I thought was really, really good. It was very well done. I am looking forward to season 5 because I thought season 4 was a much better improvement over season 3. Like season 2 has a really high rating for some reason. I don't get it because season 2 was absolutely horrible and it almost made me not want to watch the show at all. But do yourself a favor, check it out. Season 4 was very well done. And this was another big one because this just ended this week or this past week, excuse me, the final episode of The Boys. And I remember like the first 2 episodes of this final season, I thought were very strong. Like I thought it started off pretty well, but see, like episode 3, I thought was just okay. Um, but then 4 and 5 were pretty awful. Like 4, 5, 6 wasn't that good. 7 was just kind of like what? And by the time you got to 8, you were kind of confused because there was still so much stuff that they had to cover and address. And you're like, and you knew episode 8 was only going to be an hour long, and so you were kind of confused as to how they were going to wrap it up. So overall, the final season of The Boys, I don't think was great. Like I thought it was, it's funny because there's so many like so much pressure on the show when it goes into its final season, and a lot of people complain about how it ends and talks about how it tanks the legacy. Like Game of Thrones suffered from this. I feel like Stranger Things, the final season of that, suffered a little bit because I do think the final season of Stranger Things wasn't very good. I did enjoy the final season of Game of Thrones. I'm in the minority in terms of being happy with how it wrapped up, but that's because I read the books and I could see where it was going, and it was like a bittersweet ending to me. And so I didn't hate the finale of Game of Thrones. I don't think it tanked the legacy of the show at all. The final season of The Boys was not great. It just wasn't, especially in terms of like how crazy things got in the comics in the last arc of that series. I will say, however, that the final episode of the series was spectacular. I thought it was really well done. It was great. It built to this epic conclusion and it paid off in my opinion. Like the thing that I do find really hilarious is all the people that for some insane reason glommed on to Homelander and viewed Homelander as an anti-hero as opposed to a straight up villain, which is what he is, and how he got his comeuppance finally in the final episode. And the what I've been calling, I'm not saying they're all this, but like if to me, if you identify with Homelander and that was your favorite character and you viewed him as an anti-hero and not the villain, then I'm very concerned because that's supremely disturbing to me. And so like there were some people that were upset, were unhappy with how Homelander went out, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? That's crazy, especially in terms of like they were shocked, and then spoiler, like where he loses his powers because the boys come up with this plan to replicate Soldier Boy's ability to burn the compound V out of their system. And so he gets the compound B burned out of his system. He's just a regular guy. And then they're shocked at how weak and pathetic he is. And I'm sitting there like, they literally have built to that over the course of 5 seasons. Like he was all powerful just because of his abilities and he was the most powerful suit. But at no point in time did he seem like he was like a capable fighter or anything. And it even starts at the very beginning of this season where he kills A Train, and he's A Train says to him, like, I don't understand why I've always been afraid of you. He's like, take away your powers and you're nothing, you're pathetic, you're a loser. And that's literally what he is. And that's what most people that are try to be this, that have power, if you strip it away from them, they are nothing because that's all they have. And so the way it ended, I thought was spectacular. Especially like if you read the comics, it gets really dark, and it's not like every character pretty much had a positive, happy ending for the most part. Uh, in this finale, um, not all of the boys survived this season, but the majority of them did. And the conclusion for it, I just thought was very well done. And so the overall season, I will admit, was not great, but the last episode I thought was really good. Like the only other issue that I had with it is that nothing really changed at the end of the show. In all honesty, it all just kind of went full circle and went back to what it was before, where even though they killed Homelander and got rid of him, Vought still was in control of like most of the soups, and Stan Edgar, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who had a small part this season, ends up back in charge. And I thought that was kind of crazy because especially during the season where you saw like Laz Alonso's Mother's Milk character pretty much promised, like, I'm gonna make sure I put a bullet in your head so you don't take that company over again. And then that doesn't happen. You're sitting there like, well, he pretty much got what he wanted, and everything's just kind of going back again. And it's like that was the only other issue I had with it. And I guess like maybe because they didn't want to blow everything away because they had this prequel series called Vought Rising coming out, centered around Soldier Boy and how Vought came about and all that. But I'll be honest when I say I don't know if I really care, because Soldier Boy, like, why I did find Jensen Ackles, Soldier Boy, to be the best character on the show because he's really funny. It's also pretty clear that he's not a good guy either. Like, he's actually a bad guy as well. And the person Clara, who's Stormfront, who's going to be played by Aya Cash, who was the villain of season 2, is going to be back, and she was pretty clearly a racist Nazi. So I'm not rooting for her. So it's just I don't know. I might watch it, but I'm not overly enthused. I kind of don't care because I feel like the story is done. But um that brings me to the final thing that I want to talk about, which is why I was even doing this to begin with. The Mandalorian and Grogu, the Star Wars film, first Star Wars film in about 7 years, I believe. And yeah, 7 years since the horrible Rise of Skywalker, which was such a bad Star Wars movie. It was just terrible. I mean, I dislike the sequel trilogy, period. The Last Jedi is the only one that is even decent. It's not that I thought The Force Awakens was a horrible movie. It's just that I've seen it already. But anyway, let's talk about the good movie. So flat out, I'll tell you right now, the Mandalorian and Grogu gets an A. If there was a higher grade, I would give it. If you love the Mandalorian TV show, you will greatly enjoy this film. And when it first came out, there was like the Rotten Tomato score for it, I believe, was like 27 or 28%. So critics weren't liking it, and I was really confused by that. But the same thing actually happened with the Michael movie. Like, it had a ridiculously low um Rotten Tomatoes score, but the audience score was like in the 90%. The audience score for the Mandalorian and Grogu is 89%, and apparently that's the highest rating for one of these modern Star Wars movies. And so I I just feel like you got to make it of it what you will, but I absolutely love this movie. It was great from beginning to end. It had such great action in it. It had like it was, and it is a family film. I'll say that because you have Grogu, who's who everybody pretty much called Baby Yoda, but it was like one of the best descriptions I saw for for it before I saw it from one critic or from one reviewer. Called it, said it was Star Wars meets like yeah, it was like Star Wars meets the Dark Crystal meets Flash Gordon, all rolled up into one. And I agree because it had all those like super cool elements to it. It was, John Favreau had like an influence of clearly Star Wars, but also like um, westerns and samurai films and sci-fi films like Blade Runner, and it was so entertaining. It was so cool. I just it was awesome, and I can't rave about it enough, especially because like Star Wars fans have gotten like this really bad reputation in terms of how much like they seem to hate all of the modern Star Wars stuff. And I did come out here and say how much I disliked the sequel trilogy, but the like all of the shows or the majority of the shows that have been coming out on Disney Plus have been really entertaining. And there was this one article I saw that I read that talked about why is there such a heavy disconnect between the critics of the film and audiences, and why is it promote like the budget for the Mandalorian and Grogu, especially in terms of a Star Wars film, was pretty moderate. Like the overall budget is, I mean, in relative terms, the overall budget was like $165 million, and so it made 102 million domestically, and then worldwide, like for this Memorial Day weekend, the projection is that it's going to make 165 million. So it's already going to make its budget back this first, this first weekend. And the article that I was reading was speculating, like trying to understand why does it seem like there's this, because a lot of speculation before this movie came out was like, oh, this movie is tracking poorly, or it's not, it's estimated to not even make $200 million this opening weekend, which I think is crazy. Because yeah, I know like movies nowadays, like especially the Avengers films, usually make like 200 million or whatever, like as soon as they come out, and Michael Jackson made like a billion, or is on track to make like $1 billion. But it's like you don't seem to give some of these movies the benefit of doubt, and it's already overshooting some of the projections of what people thought it was going to make. Like it's made more money than they thought it was going to do this opening weekend. But the article that I read was speculating that if it seems like trades or other people are against this movie being successful, is because it would the Mandalorian started as a high prestige or streaming show on Disney Plus. Like it was part of the Disney Plus kickoff, and a lot of people, especially major Hollywood people, don't like streaming because it's just different. And there's been this whole narrative that the cinema is dying and people going to the movies is dying, and it's all because of streaming, because people just want to sit at home and watch the stuff. And my argument for that has always been, if you put out good movies, then people will go to the theater to see good movies. Like it's been more people going to the movies this year than there has been like the previous year, but there wasn't a ton of really great things coming out. Like when Sinners came out, Sinners made a lot of money because it was a really great movie. And so it's like if you put out good content, then shocker, people will actually want to go to the movies to watch it. And so they were saying now, if the Mandalorian and Grogu is successful, it shows that people will have an appetite to still go to the theater for something that was created for streaming. So again, this is all speculative, but I just absolutely positively love this movie. If you're a fan of Star Wars, like an actual fan, and remember that it doesn't have to be super grown up or super serious. Like I mean, it should just be fun. This movie was incredibly fun. It was action packed. It was the visuals were great, the special effects were great. It was like it. Of course, they used some CGI, but it didn't look awful. It looked good. Like if you even go back and look at like the prequel series, and I know like people hate the prequel series. The Clone Wars kind of shaped your mind to not hate as much. But one of the really bad parts of the prequel series is just it was so heavily CGI. It was, and the technology was so new. It was like when you look at it now, it's kind of obvious. Or even when you looked at it then, it's kind of obvious. But this was just it was just very well done. It was super well done. I love this movie. I can't rave about it enough, to be honest. But I want you to go see it because I will be more than happy to keep watching the Mandalorians. If they don't do a show again, uh, I love this character. It was just awesome, off the charts, great. So that's what I've been watching. That's why the reviews are in, and so stay tuned for the next video that will be coming out later this week. Like I said, it's going to be me with some friends that I've made and from various social media platforms, and we'll be talking about parasocial relationships and how you make friends as adults, and just what that experience is like. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining, and probably also come back with a short little Cowboy segment as well. Because look, it's the 0 to 100 podcast, so you always gonna get some Cowboys content. But thanks for tuning in to this episode, and again, it'll be available on YouTube as well as in the audio form coming out later. You could always join the conversation, email the show. Let me know if you've seen The Mandalorian or Grogu or any of the projects that I talked about. Let me know what you thought. You can email 0 to 100pod@gmail.com. That's the number 0TO100pod@gmail.com. And again, make sure you follow me on all the socials. Just search at WCW Poet and you'll be able to find me. This has been the 0 to 100 podcast. This first part, the reviews are in. We out.